Hello everyone and welcome back to Goodnight Mare. I'm Mare and today we're going to talk about book reports and book reviews. So this year with Seton is the first year that my students have ever had to write a book report or a book review. And both of my kids were afraid of failure and were afraid that they were going to make mistakes. And guess what? They did, and we all do, but it's okay. So here I am, just trying to give you guys some tips and tricks that might make book reports and book review writing a little bit easier for your student. They do all of their writing for their book reports. We do not do dictation in this house. I believe by second grade, when you're writing sentences, that you should be able to write your own complete sentences and thoughts. I understand that some students have special needs. You have to do what works well for your family. Our students are typical students. We go with that. So if dictation is what works for you and your student, by all means do that. In our house, we don't allow it because, like I said, they are totally capable and able to do that on their own, so they will. Let's start with our third grader. Our third grader has to write a book review. Now, the way Seton lays it out for you, they give you these wonderful outlines, and this comes when you enroll. It comes as part of your lesson plans, and it actually asks you the questions: who, what, where, when, how. So easy to think, right? Who, what, when, where, how. And then why? Why? Why do we do anything? So, very easy questions to answer. Your book's in front of you. You can write down all of the information. Super easy task with the book right there. Especially things like, what's the title of the book? Or who is the author? These questions can be answered very simply and very quickly without having to read the entire book. Now, after our daughter starts to read parts of the book, she's allowed to take sticky notes or post-it notes and put them on the pages and write little notes to herself so that when she goes back to write her review, she'll remember, oh, I wrote or I put this here because this was important. Now, Little Flower, her book report books aren't typically as long as Bear's books, who's in 5th grade. And so most of the time she doesn't have a whole bunch of sticky notes in her book, but there are a few, or she'll take a notebook and jot down some ideas from things that she wants to remember. So the book review for 3rd grade goes with those questions, and then it tells you to write a paragraph about the story, including a topic sentence, 3 sentences that support that topic, and a concluding sentence about that topic. They literally want 5 sentences, people. Now, I ask her to kind of find one thing that really spoke to her and focus on that and make a really good topic sentence and then fill in with other sentences that relate to the topic or explain the topic or explain how it relates to her life, and then conclude with that really good closing sentence and just make sure that you have something that captures your audience. Now, Little Flower goes beyond that. She cannot just hold it down with 5 sentences. So typically we will fill a page. It's how it works. And then we powwow. When I say powwow, we get together at the end of the week on Friday and I say, look, you read some of your book. I want 1 or 2 good sentences. Tell me what you thought about this week. Write them down in your notebook. They don't even have to make cohesive sense right now. Just write a couple sentences about what you read this week so that when you go to write your whole book report, you have something there. And that is so helpful to them. It helps her when she's at the end of the quarter and she can write her book report right from her notes. And I think that's a great way to go about things instead of having that daunting task at the end of, a quarter. 9 weeks is a long time to read a book and write all of that information from memory. So it's okay. And again, we do what works for our family. You have to do what works for your family. Typically, we are reading it throughout the 9 weeks of the quarter. And she loves writing the book report or book review for 3rd grade. So go with the flow of it and really take portions, digest it, and then go ahead and write about it. And that's how it's going to help you. Now I'm going to talk about Bear and how he does his book report. So hers is called a review. His is called a report. He's the 5th grade. Once you're enrolled, Seton sends you a nice, very nice actually, outline and a handbook. And it's so helpful. Like, they do this for you, people. Use it. So, again, it's the title of the book, and it even tells you, please underline this if you're handwriting a report, or italicize it if it's a typed report. Now, with Bear, he has his Chromebook, and so typically we will let him go ahead and type up in Google Docs, and then he emails it to me and my husband. And then this way, week by week, we're able to see progress, because we don't expect our children to read the whole book and then slam out 5 paragraphs in a week. That's crazy. They're not in college. He's in 5th grade. So each week that he's reading, we ask, please write a few sentences, write a whole paragraph, make it work for you, because at week 6, guess what? It's powwow time. It's, who, what, where, when, how. And then they ask you to write 3 paragraphs on topics, and a beginning paragraph and a concluding paragraph. So a total of 5 paragraphs for 5th grade for their book report. This is more of an analytical book report. They want to know, what kind of character qualities do these characters possess? What did you learn about the world? What did you feel related to you best? And I feel like Bear has done a really good job. This is the first year that either of our children have had to do book reports or book reviews. Bear is also another one with the Post-its and goes through. And I'm a little bit harder on him because he has to have those 5 paragraphs by the end of the quarter. And so we also do a powwow. What I mean by powwow, again, writing workshop, right? So he reads a little bit, he writes a little bit. He reads a little bit, he writes a little bit. Now with Bear, he has the benefit of using his Chromebook. And so he will type out a paragraph in Google Docs and email it to me. And I save all of those paragraphs, and then at the end of 5 weeks, when he has done a beginning paragraph, 3 middles, and a concluding, we go through that and we look at it. And I say, I want you to read this out loud. Reading out loud their own writing opens their eyeballs, people, like you would not even believe. So they're reading their paragraphs out loud. They go, that didn't sound right. Or I already said that word like 8 times. So why don't we change it? And it gives them the familiarity of finding what they can change, what they've learned in English or grammar, to use those kinds of ideas and focus their sentences a little bit better. Adding in those adjectives, those adverbs to make things more precise, to give you more idea of, vision, so that when you close your eyes, you can picture exactly the character and where he lives or where she lives and what the time period's like. And it's really beautiful to see kids go through that writing process and come up with something phenomenal at the end. Now with Bear, he tends to repeat words many times while he's writing. Again, you're writing 5 paragraphs over the course of 5 weeks. You're gonna have some repeated words in there. So he loves it, because I'll go through the Google Docs and I'll just make a suggestion and I'll write thesaurus, dictionary, or watch your wording, or can you use alliteration, or can you give me a little bit more description here? And those kinds of suggestions are so much more helpful than saying, I think you should write this. I think you should say this. I think it should say that. Kids need to learn on their own. So making the suggestions of how the writing should flow or helping them, that's all part of our job as parents. And that's okay to do. I think it's also beneficial to do it a little bit at a time so that you don't have, again, this daunting task at the end of 9 weeks to completely rehaul a whole book in the form of a book report or a book review. That's a lot to ask of a kid. So doing it in parts and pieces makes it so much easier and so much more fun, because then you get to the end of this time and you're like, wow, look at all I've done. I've written 5 paragraphs in 5 weeks, and now I have a really good cohesive book report. I love that Seton makes us do these book reports and book reviews. I will say that I did go to a Catholic school growing up, and we were doing more than one a quarter. So when my kids start to complain a little bit about, oh, I don't want to do my book report, I don't want to do it, I look at them and go, guess what? Neither did I. But I had to write 4 a quarter, not 1. So would you like to do 4 a quarter? And that attitude adjustment is very quick. So, you know, just remember that they're kids and they're still learning. And if you take it in smaller chunks, it makes it a little bit easier for them. Also, you know, if it's hard for them to write, then yeah, absolutely go ahead and dictate, or, you know, have them write notes and maybe write sentences on sticky notes so that you can rearrange how they go in a paragraph. You know, I love the fact that the way we do our book reports gives my kids a little bit more independence and a lot more responsibility. And I think setting them up that way and instilling the good note-taking and the focus and understanding how to take constructive criticism, or understanding that mom and dad are just trying to help you, that we're not degrading your book report by any way, that we want you to do your best. And so by making these suggestions, we're just helping you. It gives them such a sense of responsibility. And they are learning so much to be really independent. And that to us is the main goal here. So I look at these book reports as independence and responsibility training with good note-taking and good studying. And it's phenomenal to see their accomplishments through a year, because you compare that first book report to that last one, and boy, oh boy, will you see a big difference. So I hope that this has helped you. I will be doing a video with both Little Bear and Little Flower to kind of have them give their input on what they find the best techniques for their book report writing. So you're gonna get the mom's perspective, and then you're gonna get the kid's perspective. So I think that'll be very helpful to your students as well. But again, if you have any questions, or if you have more suggestions on book report and book report writing, then please leave your comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe and the little bell so you'll be notified when we have new videos. I hope you all have a wonderful night. Good night.